On the idyllic holiday island of Malta, 17-year-old Mike Mansholt from Germany is discovered, but he is no longer alive. The athletic, muscular boy, full of life, appears at first glance to be the victim of a tragic accident. But as the police attempt to recover his lifeless body, it quickly becomes clear. Something here is terribly wrong. Mike, once strong and healthy, suddenly weighs an astonishingly low 16 kilograms. The rescue team is shocked when they discover that the teenager is missing several organs. What happened to Mike? Why was he traveling alone? How did he lose so much weight? And most importantly, who or what is behind the mysterious disappearance of his organs? In today's video, we delve into these disturbing questions and explore the shocking theories surrounding Mike's mysterious fate. Mike Mansholt was born on August 20th, 1998 in Germany. He grew up with his sister, raised by their parents, and shared a particularly close bond with his father, Bernd, a goldsmith. From an early age, Mike was influenced by his father's passion for sailing. Bernd introduced Mike to the world of sailing at a young age, and by the time he was 5, Mike was already accompanying his father on adventurous sailing trips around the world. These experiences had a lasting impact on him, fueling his desire to explore and seek new experiences. It was likely this early exposure to adventure that later drove Mike to pursue new challenges. He experimented with a variety of sports including skating, hiking, and diving. But it was climbing and mountain biking that became his greatest passions. His personal life was also going well. He had a girlfriend, a few close friends, and maintained a harmonious relationship with his family. In July 2016, Mike planned his first solo trip without his parents. His girlfriend was in Malta for a language course at the time, and Mike saw it as the perfect opportunity to visit her and explore the island on his own. He was looking forward to spending time with her, and after her departure on July 17th, he intended to stay for an additional 5 days to discover more of Malta independently. The island was ideal for outdoor activities such as hiking and climbing. One place in particular sparked his curiosity, the Dingley Cliffs, which he was especially excited to explore during his adventure. Malta is a popular vacation destination for tourists. It's relatively close by, offering warm weather, white sandy beaches, and breathtaking natural scenery. But for adventurers like Mike, that wasn't enough. He sought the unknown, the hidden sides of the island that don't immediately catch the eye. This included the island's dramatic cliffs, where Malta's highest point rises 830 feet above sea level, offering a spectacular view. Mike was determined to see this special spot. On July 18th, he rented a mountain bike and sent a voice message to his girlfriend just before setting off. In the message, he sounded upbeat and said, "Okay, I've just rented a bike and I'm going to explore Malta today. The roads are so steep that you sometimes have to walk up them, but that's exactly the kind of physical challenge I love." This would be Mike's final message. When the 17-year-old hadn't contacted his girlfriend or family by late evening, they began to worry. At first, they thought he might have been exhausted after a long day and had gone to bed early, so they decided to wait another day. However, when no message came the next day either, they assumed that Mike might have lost his phone or had it stolen. He was just shy of turning 18 and had some plans lined up. They suspected he might be in a remote area without cell reception, unaware that his family was growing increasingly anxious. As time passed, their fears deepened. They hoped Mike would return home on his scheduled flight on July 22nd. But when his seat on the plane remained empty and he didn't come home, they knew something was wrong. Finally, they alerted the police. The police immediately began their investigation in Malta, and thanks to media reports, many volunteers joined the search for the missing German. Mike's father also traveled to Malta without delay to search for his son personally. One of the first places they checked was the Dingley Cliffs, as Mike had told his girlfriend that he planned to go there on the day of his disappearance. However, the rugged cliff faces cover a vast and hard-to-navigate area. The narrow paths are lined with dense brush, and most of the steep walls have numerous ledges that are difficult to see. Despite the many search teams, several days passed without any sign of Mike. Finally, on the morning of July 26th, around 10 a.m., his body was discovered about 100 feet below the top of a cliff. Near the site were some fields and the chapel of St. Mary Magdalene. It had taken so long to find him because his body was lying on a ledge, hidden from view from above. Shortly after, Mike's bike was found, hanging in a bush a few feet higher. Further away, his sunglasses and shoes were also discovered. Initially, investigators believed the case was clear. Mike had likely strayed off the path and fallen down the cliffs with his bike. This was supported by the fact that his back was broken in two places, as the investigators informed Mike's father. But the question remains, was it really as simple as it first seemed? There are some legitimate doubts about whether the accident truly happened that way. Let's start with the most striking detail. Mike's body was found under a rock overhang, which was not visible from above. How could he have fallen in such a way? One might assume he was gravely injured and crawled there before succumbing, but it's unlikely he would still be conscious after a 30-meter fall. Additionally, the autopsy results I'll discuss later contradict this theory. His bicycle also raised questions. Aside from a flat rear tire and a few scratches, it was nearly undamaged. Even if it had been caught by a bush, it's hard to believe a bike falling 30 meters would sustain so little damage. Mike's body underwent a second autopsy in Germany after an initial examination in Malta. The forensic experts immediately noticed he was much lighter than expected, weighing only 16 kilograms. How was this possible? The autopsy revealed that almost all of his internal organs were missing, including his heart, lungs, liver, and even his brain. The Maltese doctors suggested that animals had eaten the organs and that the heat had liquefied the brain. However, the German forensic experts found this explanation unlikely, noting the absence of bite marks and that while the brain could decompose, it shouldn't completely liquefy. Due to the missing organs, the cause of death could not be determined. However, the German experts noted that none of Mike's bones were broken. His back was intact, contrary to Maltese reports. This made a fall seem unlikely, yet there was no evidence of foul play or a crime. Mike's family and German authorities strongly doubted that an accident was the cause of his death. His backpack containing 600 euros in cash, his phone, and a GoPro camera was never found. Hotel surveillance cameras showed he had these items when he set out for his tour, yet the search for his phone was never pursued further. They could have easily traced the last use via the IMEI number, potentially revealing if Mike had tried to call for help. The Oldenburg Public Prosecutor's Office eventually opened an investigation for manslaughter. However, the Maltese authorities were uncooperative and considered the case closed. Reluctantly, they handed over the files to the German investigators who found crucial information missing. There were no photos of the body or the crime scene. The final report was only one page long, concluding that the Maltese doctors could not determine a cause of death, attributing the missing organs to animal consumption. With no further leads, the investigation stalled. Mike's father offered a reward of 10,000 euros for information that could clarify his death or locate his missing belongings. In the past few years, many theories about Mike's death have come up, but most can be easily disproven. Still, I want to discuss some of them to clear up misunderstandings. One of the most common theories is that Mike was murdered by organ traffickers who sold his organs. While this sounds believable at first, it is very unlikely. For an organ transplant, the donor must be brain dead, and the organs must be kept oxygenated to stay usable. In a remote area with cliffs, without medical equipment, and in extreme heat, it would be nearly impossible to remove organs in a way that would allow for future transplants. Additionally, not all of the missing organs would have been suitable for transplant. If this had really happened, investigators would likely have found signs of a cause of death. Since only the cuts from the autopsy were visible on Mike's body, the organ trafficking theory seems unlikely. I will explain what really happened to his organs later. Suicide was also considered, but there is no solid evidence to support this idea. His family and friends believe it is very unlikely that Mike wanted to take his own life. Mike's father has come up with a theory that makes sense. On the day Mike disappeared, it was extremely hot. The sun was blazing, and there was hardly any shade on the cliffs. Burns suspects that Mike took off his shoes to cool down. He might have been looking for a shortcut to the highest point of the cliffs. As an experienced climber, he may have tried to climb with his bike, but had to leave it behind when he got too tired. Dehydrated and weakened by the heat, he could have suffered a heat stroke. To escape the sun, he might have laid down in the dip under the rock overhang to rest. He may have even tried to call for help but had no signal. Eventually, Mike could have died from heat stroke under the overhang. The missing organs might have a simpler explanation. They were likely removed by Maltese forensic doctors and not replaced. In Malta, relatives must give explicit permission for such removal, which Mike's family never did. To cover up the fact that the organs were removed and not returned, the doctors claimed that animals had eaten them. Heat stroke can be hard to detect after an autopsy because there are no clear signs. Since even the Maltese doctors could not find a definite cause of death, it seems reasonable that heat stroke or something similar is the most likely cause. This could be a plausible theory and a step toward solving the case. But why only almost? Byrne traveled to Malta several times to push for the investigation to be reopened. He never believed that the truth would stay hidden. In fact, he succeeded. A judge in Malta ordered the investigation to be reopened after a new witness came forward with interesting information. The details of this testimony are not yet public, but Mike's father mentioned in an interview that he now has a theory and is sure that Mike was not alone on the day he disappeared. He suspects that at least one other person must have been with him. This would be a significant turn in the case and could change many of the previous theories. However, until more information is available, everything remains uncertain. The case of Mike's death is truly heartbreaking, filled with unanswered questions and deep mysteries that haunt his family and all who have followed the story. Despite many theories and investigations, the truth still remains hidden. What really happened to Mike that day? His family's grief is only made worse by the uncertainty and lack of closure. This isn't just about a young man's tragic death. It's a reminder of how fragile life can be and how painful the search for the truth can become. Hopefully one day, all the pieces will come together, bringing peace to those who need it. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. What are your theories on this case? Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.